Okay, so now that we have all of our tools, we brought all our belongings to try to start the car. First things first, let's check the gas tank and see if it stinks. If it smells like turpentine and you can tell it really got some old stuff in it, even bring a little flashlight with you to look down in there. You want to see how this gas tank has been over the years. You know, I do not recommend putting fresh gas into the tank to try to start that motor. If there's all grime in there, it's not a good idea. So let's just open the door. Pop the hood. Okay, love the early bugs. Okay, so here's our gas tank. If you got a 67 and earlier, of course you have the gas cap is inside the trunk. So if you want to check your gas, definitely open here. Okay, now basically it's just a simple whiff. Just take a whiff and see if you smell anything. I mean, you'll know right off the bat if you take that cap off, it's going to stink. But if it smells like ordinary gas and maybe the car wasn't sitting that long, I mean, you could possibly try to start it with this. But I still, over the years, if the car has been parked fairly recently, you got ethanol, you got all that stuff in there, it's not a good sign. So, but you can go in there with a flashlight and see at the bottom of the tank, maybe the tank has got a clean surface. Maybe they did drain the tank prior to parking. I mean, I've seen that before, so that's always a good thing. And if there's no sediment at the bottom, I would go ahead and put the gas in there. But for the most part, I think you're going to have to bring that gas can that I told you to bring and hook it up to the fuel pump. So let's get to it. Okay, so now we're ready to try to start our Beetle. First and foremost, what I like to do is, again, take a look at the motor, get a general assessment of what you see. Electrical wires, does anything look fishy, anything look frayed, anything look like it's off? Maybe there's wires off of the regulator, there's wires off of the coil, your oil sending, that sort of thing. You want to just make sure, if you have a later car, automatic choke, you got the cables hooked up, all the wires, everything looks okay. If it doesn't, I would definitely look into replacing the ends or something, or fixing a wire temporarily if you could. You might want to even bring in a jumper wire with alligator ends on the end if you had to. But I would definitely check your oil. Pull your dipstick out, just check the oil level. If you have any oil with you, like I said, to bring, fill up your oil. I like to take my air cleaner off at this point too. Get a general idea what's going on inside the carburetor. If it looks gunky, if it looks pretty bad, you might be biting off more than you can chew. So check your distributor. You want to check, again, check your coil. If your coil looks like, sometimes I've seen coils like they're ready to burst. They look like they got cracks in them and they're dripping oil on the bottom, and they just look like they're swollen or something. I would definitely change your coil. And then basically you want to get, again, if the gas tank is not in good shape, get your gas can, like I showed before, get some braided fuel line, and take off the line coming from outside, from the chassis to the fuel pump, and connect your fuel line to that fuel pump and go directly to your gas can, just so you have some fresh gas. What I also like to do is you get a cup of some gas, or you have some starting fluid, you can pour it down the carburetor, okay, just to get this sucker going. You want to just try to fire this. Now also I would take the cap off of my distributor. If you want to take a look at the points, again, I have that file. You could follow the points, you could set the points. There's videos online on showing you how to set the points. Again, 16 thousandths feeler gauge to set the points, or the old school method is a matchbook. Will also set your points. Take your spark plugs out. If you got your spark plug wires socket, take those out. If you want to look at those, assess those. If they're really black and gunky, again, it's you're at God's will there at that point. So, but that's then basically it. Once you assess all that, and you got some fresh fuel down there, maybe you got to put some oil in. Check your wires again. And you make sure that the motor does turn. What's good about the early bugs is that they have a manual choke, so you can actually pull the choke out, which is really nice on some of these earlier bugs. You're going to want to hook your battery up then under the back seat, or if you got that jump box, and turn the key on in the dash. You don't have to crank it yet. Just see if you got any electricity going through the system, and then see if you got lights that come up on the speedometer. And if you have some electricity there, doesn't necessarily mean it's still going to start at that point, but it's a good indication you got some electricity then going through the system. I would come back, get your little test light out, and then pop the distributor cap off and see if you have juice going from the coil to the points. Because if you don't have juice going to the points, no electricity there, you might be cranking, but you're not going to start the car. There's no spark. So you're going to definitely want to check that as well. And again, use your test light, ground it on a bolt or a screw that goes to the body somewhere, and then just touch it to the points and see if you have juice. And then if you don't have lights on the dash, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't have electricity going through the system. Again, come back and check your points. The bulbs just could be blown in the speedometer, and they just need to be replaced. So, but at that point, you can start cranking and seeing if you're getting any firing. At least if the car turns. If it doesn't turn, and you got electricity, and you change the coil, and maybe you change the spark plug wires, and it's not turning, that could be your starter. The starter could be really old, and now all of a sudden you can't even crank the car because the starter's bad. So if you have a spare starter, or if you want to wrap the starter with a hammer, sometimes that jogs it and gets it going. But that's another ball of wax there. So, but that's it. Basically, you can start cranking the car. I would hit the pedal a bunch of times and see if this car is going to start to fire. You'll start to hear, you'll know when it's starting to turn, and then you can really start probably pouring some more gas down there, or pouring spraying some more ether or starting fluid to get it going. So, but that's really it. That's how you would get going, really. There's going to be a lot of smoke, most likely, so you'll be choking a little bit. So hopefully you got it outside, and you got the doors open, and you got some ventilation going. But other than that, that's what it would take to probably start the Beetle. So let's start this one up and see how it sounds. So that's that tip, guys. If you have any questions whatsoever, please email me, chris@classicvwbugs.com, or visit my website, www.classicvwbugs.com, and more than happy to try to help you out. Good luck, and get that buggy started. All right, take care.